Hello, welcome to Bolt Action CP. Today I'm going to start a short series of videos on Spectre Operations, the basics of how to play the game. There's been some people asking to do something like this. I'm no expert at this game, but I've played a few games. Been reading through the rules quite a bit, so I'm going to give it a shot, and hopefully this game will help anyone that's interested or thinking about getting into this game make up their mind on whether to try it out or not. So I'm going to start off just with the basics of the game, the turn sequence, initiative, and the stats, the different stat levels within the game. And then I'll do a video on movement and tactical phase and shooting phase and the close combat phase, and possibly even go over some of the spend a video going over the equipment and the weapons, and also some scenario design. So go ahead and get started with the first part, which is turn sequence and training levels. Alright, we're going to start off with the model and character profiles, which are the different levels of troops that you can take in the game. So there's 5 different levels, from untrained to elite. So untrained are your civilians, street criminals, and poorly trained militia. Next level up is militia. So these are your insurgents, so your ISIS fighter types, irregular forces, freedom fighters as it says in here. So after that you got trained. This is your Middle Eastern and South Asian armies, soldiers of fortune, Russian and Chinese regulars. Professional, the next level. U.S. Special Forces, Rangers, Commandos. First World Professional Armies, Russian Airborne, SWAT Team, FBI. And finally at the top you got your elites. This is your badass SAS, Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, Spetsnaz type guys. So those are the different levels of troops you can take in the game. There's a few special rules, not many, for the levels. The elites, for example, can only suffer 2 suppression points each. So we'll get into suppression in a little bit. They may also mentor, which is cool because you can add them to some train guys, and train guys can use some of the stats of the elite troops. Professional, they also may mentor, and they can break down without having to pass a command test, and they can only suffer 3 suppression points. Trained don't have any, and militia, they get bonuses to their command tests the more guys they have. So 10 or more you get +1, and another +1 for every 5 after that. And untrained are no rules. They don't have cohesion, obviously. They just wander around. So go ahead and go into the different stats for each of these. These are your stats. Across the top here you got command, agility, shooting, defense, melee, and point value. So the top here is your elite commander. It's 30 points. So he's got a command of 6, agility 5, shooting 6, defense 3, melee 6. And on the other end of the spectrum, we got your militia man, who's got a command of 2, an agility of 3, a shooting of 3, a defense of 2, a melee of 3, and he costs only 2 points. So you can see you can have a lot of militia guys compared to elite commanders, or elite anything really. And then you got all the stats for everyone else. A professional soldier, for example, has a command of 3, an agility of 4, and a shooting of 5, defense of 2, and melee of 4. So that's kind of your middle of the road stat wise. Everything below that sucks, and everything above that gets much better. So that's the your different classes and your stats for each of those. So now I'll go into the turn sequence. So here are the steps in the turn sequence. You have your initiative phase, command phase, movement and tactical phase, and combat phase. So we'll start with initiative phase. So initiative is how you determine who goes first in any given turn. The way the turn works, it's sort of a hybrid of you go, I go, and other mechanics. So it's not strictly you go, I go, as in I move, I shoot, I do everything. It's I move, I shoot, you shoot. So it's not strictly I go, you go. So the initiative is determined in the initial scenario setup. So the scenario will decide who starts with the initial initiative, and then once the first turn's over, then you start rolling for it on every turn after that. So the way you roll for it is you take your command value, and you roll a d6 and you add it to that. And whoever wins, whoever has a higher number, has the initiative for that turn. So obviously, elite operators are command 6, and the militia are like command 2. So it has to be a pretty bad roll for the operators to not have the initiative. Now on top of that, there's modifiers to the initiative roll, such as suppression. Suppression is you collect suppression based on getting shot at. Not being hit, just getting shot at will put a suppression on you. And you do lose a suppression at the beginning of every turn automatically. And as I said earlier, elites can only have 2 per model, 2 suppression points per guy, and professional soldiers can only have 3 suppression points per guy. Everyone else can just accumulate them. I don't think it's going to be that bad to have a whole bunch on one, because there's not that many operators. So, I mean, if all of them shoot at one guy, he's probably going to be dead. So, I don't think suppression does add up, but it's limited by the small amount of elite models that can shoot, and the fact that when they shoot, they usually kill you. So, being suppressed by them, it does happen, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. And there's ways in the command phase that you can remove suppression as well. So anyway, initial initiative is determined at the scenario. Then after that, you take your command, roll d6, add them together, subtract all your suppression. Whoever has the higher number wins. It is possible to have negative initiative. If you're starting out with a 2 and you got 5 or 6 total suppression on your whole force, then you're going to be a -4. So it's going to be unlikely you have the initiative. Go into the command phase. So command test. So to issue a command, you have to pass a command test. So you roll a d6 and you have to get equal or below the command stat. Some of the commands we'll go over. So there's different commands you can give. Some can be given by each troop to himself, and some can only be given by squad leaders and force commanders. So the ones that can be given by troops to themselves are Overwatch, which is basically like ambush and bolt action if you play that. It's where you're covering an area ready to shoot. You can actually shoot at a model that comes into view even in the enemy's turn. It's a good way to deny an area to an enemy, or just wait inside a building for someone to come through a door. As long as they don't stun you or something, then you'll be ready to shoot them when they come in. Scan. So scanning is you're searching a 4 by 4 inch area for something. It can be a tripwire, landmine, IED, or if they're, say the scenario requires you to find a hidden weapons cache. You kind of know generally where it is, but you need to find exactly where it is. You're going to have to get to that spot, scan the area, find the weapons cache. And that's a command action. You can also scan for enemies troops, hidden enemy troops, pretty much anything you want to scan for that the scenario calls for. Breakdown. So breakdown is for squad leaders and commanders. It issues tells your squad. The squad leader tells his squad to break into fire teams. So they will split up into 2 smaller teams. Squads, real quick, are the game is supposed to be played with cohesive squads. It can be as low as 2 guys, like a sniper team, a medium machine gun team, up to as many guys as you have and you want to put into a squad. They have to be within an inch, I think, inch or 2 inches of each other to be in cohesion. And the elites do not need to stay in cohesion. They can actually move independently without being in a squad. So that's another one you can do. Rally, as I said earlier, that's another way to get rid of suppression. If you pass that command test, you can remove D6 suppression from a squad. Fire control order, that lets squad leader, commander tell everyone in his squad to fire on the same target. And if they do that, they get a bonus. I believe they get to use the squad leader's shooting skill, but it does restrict some of the other shooting special rules that you have. I think like rapid fire, you can't do it. So it's 1 shot each with that little bit higher shooting skill, all at the same target, which would be another squad, a vehicle, whatever it might be. And the last command you can issue is call for fire. Off-table assets, which there's a million of them. Helicopters, jets, artillery, mortars, drones, just a lot of different things you can bring in. So that's it for the command action and the initiative phase. So next we'll go on to the movement and tactical phase.